If you're trying to figure out how to become an electrician step by step, but you either too stuck, too confused, or don't know where to start, you need to watch this video because that is exactly why most people never get in. In this video, I'm about to break down the whole process of how to become an electrician step by step so you don't make any of the same mistakes I did being 20 years old and already making six figures in the trades. Let's get it. Let's go. All right, so step one is you need to actually understand what you're getting into. The first thing that I need you to understand, and this is why I messed up too, is that you're not just trying to become an electrician. You're trying to get into an apprenticeship. And if you don't understand that, you are going to move the wrong way from the very beginning. Because what most people do, and what I was kind of thinking at first, like I said earlier, is they think that I want to be an electrician, so I'm about to go apply for jobs. And then you don't hear anything back, or you get rejected, and you start thinking that something's wrong with you, like you're not qualified and like you're missing something. That's not the case at all. You're not missing something. The problem is that you skip that actual entry point. You don't start off as an electrician. You start off as an apprentice. And once I understood that, and once you're understanding that, everything is going to make a lot more sense. Because an apprenticeship is not just a job. An apprenticeship is a system that you plugged into where you're working, learning, getting paid all at the same time. And you building your skills. You building your skills step by step instead of trying to jump into something that you're not ready for. And I'm telling you, this is where people will mess themselves up. You cannot just look at the beginning and say, oh, I don't like it. Might see the starting pay. You might see that you're at the bottom of the totem pole and you might think that it's not worth it. But that's just because you're looking at the short term. You can't only look at the short term. Because when I got in, I was thinking, this ain't where I'm staying. I'm thinking this is where I'm just starting. And that's a big difference in mindset. Because every year you're going to get better and better. You're going to learn more, and your pay is going to go up with that. So you're not just working, you're progressing more and more and more. And that's something that I truly want you to fully understand. You will be getting paid to learn something that actually has value instead of paying to learn it, hoping that it works out later. And I feel like once you look at it that way, it's really going to change how you move. I feel like you're going to stop looking for that quick money and you're going to start looking at where this can take you if you just stay consistent. So remember, you don't start off as an electrician, you start off as an apprentice. I want to keep reiterating that because it's not going to be easy. You're going to start off at the bottom. You're going to have to learn. You're going to mess things up. You're going to feel like you don't know what you're doing sometimes, but that's okay. It is going to be a part of the process. Everybody will go through that. The difference will be who sticks with that. So before you even think about applying, before you even think about doing anything else, I want you to get this part straight in your head that you are not chasing a job. You're getting into a system that builds you up over time. And I need you to understand that early, because the earlier you understand that, the more smarter you're going to be moving than people trying to skip steps and wondering why nothing is working. Let's get into step two, y'all. I really want to touch on this because a lot of people do not understand what union versus non-union is. This next thing that you're going to run into, and this is where a lot of people will get stuck, because you will hear so much what I like to call game box talk. And this is going to be one of those decisions that people will overthink way too much in the beginning. I remember when I was trying to figure this out, I kept hearing things from different people. Some people were saying union is the best way to go. Other people were saying just start non-union and, get some experience, and they can get confusing really fast if you don't really understand what each individual one is. Let's get into it. Let me break this down for you the way I see it now without all of those extras opinions actually being now an electrician. So the union route is more structured. I believe that you get more of a clear system. You know how your raises work. You got long-term benefits, and it can be very solid if you stick with it. But concurrently to that, it is more competitive and it will take more time for you to get accepted. So that's a process that you're going to have to be more patient with. Now, for non-union, it is a little different. You can usually get in easier and you can start working sooner. So you begin learning on the job versus learning in more so of a school environment. But it's not always going to have the same structure starting out, because it's really going to depend on that individual company that you're working for and how they approach teaching you. So it's not really about one being good or one being bad. I believe that they're just different paths that can both take you to the same place as long as you take it seriously. And that take it seriously part is what I really wish people understood so much more earlier, because you don't have to lock yourself into one decision right away, because your goal will not just be, oh, just look at these both and look at it for an extended amount of time. You just want to get your foot in the door, because once you get in the field, once you actually working, once you actually learning something, you'll start to understand things a lot better. And again, you'll be in a lot better position to decide what you want to do long term. So I've seen people go both routes and do well, and I've seen people go both routes, not take it seriously, stay stuck. So it's not just about that path, it's about how you move once you're on it. So instead of stressing out over which one is perfect, I would just focus on putting yourself in a position to have those options. So, hey, apply to both, see what opportunities you get. It don't hurt. And then once you get those opportunities, make the best decision based on actually what's in front of you. Because at the end of the day, your progress is always going to be what matters most in the beginning. You're not going to be making the perfect choice. You're not. You're not. So just keep going, roll with the punches, and let's get into step 3. So step 3 is going to be get your requirements ready. So this is pretty basic, right? Get your basic requirements in order. And I know that this might sound simple, but this is one of the biggest reasons that people will always delay their own progress without even realizing it, because they treat this step like it's something, oh, I'm going to figure this out later, instead of something that they need to handle right now. And what's going to end up happening is that these opportunities are going to come up and you're not going to be ready. So you're either going to completely miss them or you're going to scramble at the last minute and you're going to look unprepared. And both of those situations will put you at a disadvantage that you could have avoided earlier. Let me break this down clearly for y'all, because I'm cooking with, and I ain't got no gas right now, y'all. So there's a right way and a wrong way to approach it. And most people will approach it the wrong way by being reactive instead of being proactive. And if you want to move faster than most people, you have to be proactive, right? So most electrician apprenticeships, whether going union or non-union, are going to require a few basic things. And these things are not crazy requirements, but they are non-negotiable, which means if you don't have these, you're not getting in. And it's plain and simple English. And these requirements are like a high school diploma or a GED. You need basic math skills. You need a valid driver's license, reliable transportation, and you need to be able to pass a drug test. And sometimes a clean background depending on your situation. None of this stuff is complicated, but just because it's simple means that people sometimes still won't handle it correctly. So what somebody's going to mess up is they'll say things like, oh, I'll get my GED later. Oh, I'll figure out the license later. Or, oh, I'll worry about that when I actually get accepted. And that mindset is exactly what keeps them stuck, because by the time an opportunity comes, you're not going to be ready to take advantage of it. And opportunities do not wait for you to get ready. They will go to the people who are already ready. So if you're serious about getting into this field, treat this step like a priority, not as optional, because that person might not be smarter than you, but they might just be in the right place at the right time, and that's all it needs. Let me go into this deeper. I want to get into each part deeper so you actually understand what you need to do and why it matters. So I want to start off with your diploma or your GED. This is your baseline. This is the minimum requirement that shows that you can complete something. And if you don't have that, nothing else matters. So if you're in a position where you still need to get your GED, that needs to become your focus immediately. Because without that GED, without that diploma, you're not even in the conversation yet. And the longer you delay that, the longer everything else will be delayed. Let me get into math, because this is another area where people either overthink or underprepare. You do not need to be an Einstein to get into the trades, but you do need to be comfortable with basic math, especially things like algebra and problem solving, because that's going to show up in an aptitude test, and that's going to show up in the work itself. And what most people do wrong is they're going to completely ignore this until it becomes a problem, and then you're going to struggle when it actually matters. So instead of waiting until you're forced to deal with it, I need y'all to take some time to brush up on your math skills. I need you to practice the basics. I need you to make sure that you're not going into this unprepared, because a little bit of preparation here is going to save you so much more frustration later. Let me get into the driver's license and transportation. Do not underestimate this, because it will matter a lot more than you think. In the trades, you are expected to be able to get to job sites. You are expected to be reliable. And if you don't have that consistent transportation, that becomes a problem. Not just for you, but it becomes a problem for the people depending on you. And these companies are not going to take that risk for someone who can't show up consistently. So if you don't have your license or your transportation situation is unstable, you need to get that fixed as soon as possible because reliability is one of the most important traits in this field. Let's talk about that drug test now. I told y'all I'm gonna get into this deep. This is gonna be pretty straightforward, but I still believe it's worth mentioning because some people will ignore this one until it's too late. And if you know this is a requirement, you need to be disciplined enough to make sure that you can pass this drug test. Because failing something that simple, it's not just a missed opportunity, it's a very preventable mistake. And a lot of people lose these opportunities because they think that you're just capable of handling the basics correctly. You need to be able to cover your bases. The bigger picture of this that I need you to understand is that this step will be about eliminating excuses before they even exist. Because once you have all of your requirements in order, you remove those barriers, you remove those delays, and you put yourself in a position where when an opportunity shows up, you can act immediately instead of hesitating. That speed will matter because the person who is ready now will always beat the person who is trying to get ready later. And I want you to think about this. There are two types of people going after the same opportunity. One person will have everything ready. They go have their documents in order. They go have their license. They go be prepared, making sure everything is handled. And the other person is still going to try to put things together, still trying to figure things out, still trying to get ready. And when that opportunity comes, who do you think is going to be in a better position to take it? The answer is obvious. You need to put yourself in that position. So don't rush past this step just because it sounds basic. Don't assume you can handle it later and don't wait until you're forced to deal with it. I need you to take control of it now. Get everything in order. Make sure there are no gaps and put yourself in a position where when it's time to apply, nothing is holding you back. Because preparation might not feel exciting, but it's one of the best advantages you can give yourself in this entire process. Let's get into step 4. You need to apply the right way. Now, step 4 is applying, but not just applying. You need to apply the right way. And this is where people mess up completely without even realizing it because they treat applying like it's a one-time action instead of an ongoing system. And that mistake is what's going to keep you stuck because you're only going to apply to one or two places. You go fill out an application online and then you go sit back and wait. And then when you don't hear anything, you assume that it's not for you. You assume that you didn't get it, or you assume that you're not qualified, and then you stop. And that is going to be exactly why you don't get in. You need to understand this clearly that applying is not going to be a one-time thing. It's a numbers game. It's a consistency game. If you don't treat it like that, you are going to lose to people who do. Because there are other people applying to the same opportunities as you. And the ones who win are not always the ones qualified, but they will be the ones who show up more, apply more, follow up more. And that's going to be something that only you can control. So instead of applying to one place and waiting, I need your mindset to shift to applying everywhere that makes sense at the same time. Union programs, non-union programs, different companies, contractors, local shops. You need anything that's going to give you a real opportunity to get your foot in the door. Because every application you submit is another chance. And the more chances you create, the higher of a possibility of you getting in. And I need you to think about that strategically. Don't think about it emotionally or personally. Let's talk about how people apply versus how you should be applying. Because I believe that this is where the real difference gets made. So most people go online, they fill out an application, and they go hit submit, and that's it. You don't give no follow-up. You don't give no effort behind that. You don't give no attempt to stand out. You just hope somebody go pick me. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. You're going to be overlooked because you're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. Let me tell you how to actually approach this. You can apply online, but that's just the first step. That's not the last step. After you apply, you follow up. You call, you email, you check in, you make your name known because not everybody is going to be doing that. And that alone will separate you immediately. You're not another name in the system. You're somebody who is showing initiative. You're someone who is serious. And you are someone who actually wants this opportunity. And I know some people hesitate, and I know that you hesitate because you're going to feel like you're being annoying, because you're going to feel like you're just bothering them. But you need to get over that, because a closed mouth will never get fed. A squeaky wheel will always get the grease. And the people who are willing to take that extra step are the ones who get noticed. It don't have to be complicated. It can be so simple. Calling and saying, hey, I submitted an application. I'm just checking on my status. Is there anything else I can do to move forward? And that alone, that extra initiative will put you ahead of so many other people. Let me take this a little further for you, because I really do want you to separate yourself. And I don't just want you to rely on online applications. You go in person whenever possible for you. Just show your face, introduce yourself, make an impression, because that is something that's something that most people are not willing to do. And because of that, you are no longer a name on the screen. You're a real person that they've interacted with. They've seen your cadence. They've seen your kindness. They've seen your professionalism. And that's going to make the difference when these decisions are getting made. Another mistake that I believe that people make is that they take rejection personally. That will kill your progress immediately. Rejection is a part of the process. It's not the end of it. Don't let one no stop you, because you're never going to get to the yes. Instead of taking it personally, treat it like feedback, like part of the numbers game, like something that's going to be expected, and keep going. Just to give you some perspective, if you apply to 20 places and only one said yes, that one yes is all you're going to need. But if you only apply to one place and they say, no, you have nothing, what situation would you rather be in? And that is why consistency and volume will matter, because it gives you opportunity and options, and that will give you leverage. Consistency is where most people fall off. They might apply to 2 places for a week, or maybe even two weeks, and then they stop. They get discouraged. They lose momentum, and then they get distracted, and then months go by and nothing changes. But it's not because this opportunity ain't there. You just stop showing up for it. This trade rewards consistency. Keep putting yourself in a position until something hits. You only need one yes. You only need one opportunity. You only need one foot in the door to change your situation. But that one yes is going to come after a sea of no's. But if you're willing to go through that process, you're going to go so much farther than somebody that's not. Your chances will go up every single time. So as you move forward from this step, approach this from the angle of you are undeniable. You are not undesirable. That you are building a system, that you are applying in volume, that you are following up, that you are showing initiative, and that you are getting the result that you are looking for, because you are the person that requires that result, because you have the actions that are becoming of the outcome. Let's get into step 5. You need to prepare for that aptitude test. This step right here is where you will get filtered out before you even touch on the job site. You need to not underestimate this aptitude test. Most people will not prepare the way that they should, because the test itself is not designed to trick you. It is not designed to be impossible, but it's designed to separate the people who are serious from the people who are just, well, I hope it works out. Let me talk to you about what this test actually is. Because a lot of people will go into it blindly, and that will put you at a disadvantage. Most of these apprenticeship programs will require you to take an aptitude test. And that test will cover basic algebra and reading comprehension. So you're going to be dealing with things like solving equations, understanding variables, working through word problems, might be reading some passages and answering questions, and based on what you read. Now, that don't sound too difficult. Some people, it won't be too difficult. But if you ain't touched that math in a minute, it's going to catch you off guard. Where most people mess up is you're going to hear basic math and you go think, ooh, 1 + 1 = 2, I'm good. So you don't prepare at all. You don't review anything. You don't practice. You just show up like, hey, I got this. And then when you get to it, you go realize it ain't what you thought it was. You go second guess yourself. You're gonna run out of time, and you're gonna end up not passing. And then you're gonna be confused because you're gonna be like, oh, I had it. But it all could have been avoided with just a little bit of preparation. So instead of approaching this casually, you need to approach this with intention, because this is one of the steps where a little bit of effort can go such a long way. I'm not saying that you need to spend months studying. I'm not saying that you need to be a math expert. You don't need to be an Einstein. Just get comfortable with it before you walk in. Review your basic algebra. Review practice and problem solving. Review solving equations. Get familiar with these type of questions that you might see, and make sure that when you sit down for your test, you're like, oh, I done seen this already. I'm gonna go into this a little deeper, because I know this test is gonna filter you out. I don't want it to, because this area is where people lose points because you don't manage your time well. This test is a test of time management. Do not get stuck on one question. Do not panic. Do not overthink, because once you know it, time is going to be out. Answer what you can on that test confidently. Do not get stuck on one question for too long. You need to move on. You need to come back to it if you have time. You need to keep your pace steady. This is not a knowledge test. It's about how you perform under pressure. And not only is it about how you perform under pressure, but you're going against other people. Let me go into the reading comprehension part, because most people will overlook this as well. You're going to focus so much on that math that you're going to forget that you have to read and understand information quickly. And this is where attention matters. You need to actually read these passages. You need to understand what it's saying. You need to answer based on that. Do not assume. You need to make sure that you can read this, read it over again, be aware of what it is you're reading, and make sure, because the test is going to be multiple choice, that you can correctly define what it is on that paper. This test is not going to be here to stop you. It's going to be there to filter out the people who are not prepared. So if you treat this like something small, you're going to put yourself in that category. But if you take it seriously, even just a little bit more than an average person, you immediately increase your chance of passing, because most people ain't even putting in that effort. I want to give you some perspective here. Again, imagine two people going into the same test. One person, they look at math for who know how long. They didn't prepare. They just hoping they remember enough to pass. While the other person, they might have spent 1 to 2 days reviewing after work, getting comfortable with the material, practicing their time management. Who you think go pass? The answer is obvious. It's not a matter of intelligence, it's a matter of preparation. So do not make this harder than it needs to be by ignoring it. Do not walk in unprepared and hope that things work out. I need you to take a little time, review what you need to review, get comfortable. Just put yourself in the best position to win. Because this is one of those steps where doing a little extra now can save you from having to repeat that process later. And I'm going to say this one more time, because it matters. You do not need to be perfect to pass this test. Just be prepared. The more confident you are, that confidence will show up in how you perform. So just take it seriously, handle it the right way, and just give yourself the best chance to move forward. I know you want to make your money. I know that you got bills to pay. Let me get you into step 5. Step 5 is preparing for this test. And this is where you need to understand something. You are not just taking a test to pass. You are competing against other people for limited spots. And that one shift in that perspective can change how you seriously think. Because it's not just you need to be good enough to pass the test. You need to be better prepared than the person that you're going up against, because they're trying to get into that same opportunity as you. You're going against that single dad with 4 kids who's trying to feed his family. You're going against that single mother who got to look at her kids if she don't get in. You are going against them. You need to want it more than them. I got in this at 19 years old. And at 19 years old, people who were sitting in my row taking the same test as me, they were just hoping they remembered enough to pass. I went in prepared. I went in confident, and that's because I put in the work on the back end. I want to break this down to you so you actually understand what you're getting into. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. But to whom much is given, much will always be required. And when you go on this test, you are going to go into it knowing that you did everything you need to do to succeed. The mistake that most people will always make is that they will think that they know everything. You don't know everything, and that's okay. You just need to know more than the person sitting next to you taking that same test as you. That's it. Let me get into this last and final step. And this last and final step is going to be the interview. Some unions and some locals, they have interview processes. And this is where I truly do believe is going to separate the cream from the crop. So the interview process, when they ask you these questions, I need you to tell them exactly what it is that they want to hear. They're going to ask you things like, why do you feel like you're the man for the job? Why do you feel like you're the woman for the job? How do you feel like you're going to adjust to this? When they ask you these questions, do not give an abstract answer. I need you to tell them exactly what it is that they want to hear. Put yourself in their position. If somebody's offering you 6 figures, offering you a 6-figure career, they just want to make sure that you're the person for the job. That's it. Your resume does not have to be the strongest, but just communicate that you are here to do some electrical work. Communicate that you are here to make your money. Communicate that you are here to feed your family. Make it personal. Make this personal because it is. This is your life. Your life. I need you to let them people know that, hey, I'm here because I know that if I bend a little pipe, if I pull a little bit of wire, if I put on a hard hat, safety glasses, and some gloves, that I can change my life for not only myself, but my family. And that is how you will be separated from everybody else. And if you want a guide to be able to pass this test, to know more about this trade, to get an extensive breakdown about everything I just said, look in the description down below for the guide. It's time for you to be undeniable. It's time for you to be undefinable. And when you pass, I need you to comment down below and say, Shauna undeniable, I am undeniable as well. See y'all at the top.